some bands just have a stellar run, right? There's like three, four records in a row where they're just on fire and everything they put out is just absolutely amazing. The replacements, few would argue that those three records would be Let It Be, Tim, and Pleased to Meet Me. I've always thought that Let It Be has the best sound, especially you put that thing on vinyl, that thing just smokes. I mean, it just sounds so good. Tim, I always thought had the best songs. Here Comes a Regular, Little Mascara, Bastards of Young, Left of the Dial, Swinging Party. I mean, this album is just loaded with such well written songs. In my opinion, it's got the best songs of any replacements record. And then I've often thought that the next record, Pleased to Meet Me, the follow up to Tim, has the best combination of the two. I love Pleased to Meet Me. I think it's a great album, and it's got the songs and it's got the sound. But the placements have been reissuing, or I think it's a wrong word to say reissuing. They've been putting out box sets of their material on Rhino Records in like the best care. You've got the best team working behind these reissues. It's really quite incredible. It started with Dead Man's Pop, which was a new look at Don't Tell a Soul by finding a mix that was made by Westerberg and Matt Wallace, the producer, before the powers that be got their hands on it and tried to mix it for radio and make a more commercial mix. And they put that out as the vinyl version, and then three CDs of extras. And it is absolutely incredible. It totally changed the way I look at that record. It had never been my favorite record. And now, if I'm going to put on a replacements record, it is that version that's on Dead Man's Pop. They continued with Pleased to Meet Me. Also did a hell of a job on that one. That one's more of just outtakes, and that one, the vinyl version, I'm a little bit, it feels a little lacking, especially after Dead Man's Pop. It's not the complete reinvention of a record. It's more a collection of songs and outtakes and stuff, and including the vinyl record. And then after that, they put out Sorry Ma Forgot to Take Out the Trash, which is like this huge collection of demos, demo tapes, live recordings all around the replacements, first demo tapes, and getting discovered and putting out that first record, Sorry Ma Forgot to Take Out the Trash. That's pretty damn good too. They did a hell of a job. All of these have stellar liner notes by Bob Mayer, and have been in such loving care. It's hard to think of musical box sets, especially if you're an extreme fan and you know a hell of a lot about these recordings and these records, that do a better justice to the band and the legacy and the material than the people behind these projects. Bang up job. I'm never scratching my head going, why did they do that? Why didn't they pick this? Why, that's an odd choice. They just do a hell of a job, and they surprise you at every turn. And I know, reading about after Sorry Ma came out, reading about what the next one was going to be, that of course they never want to tell you, and they were going to take a break. But they also hinted that there wasn't that much material of some of these classic records. And so I was kind of thinking that the next one would be All Shook Down, because I do know there's a lot of material with that one, and I know Tommy Stinson's a big fan of it and has said that he would like to see that one get this treatment. So I was kind of expecting that. I was not expecting what we just got with this new version of Tim, which is the replacements Tim Let It Bleed edition. And if you're not aware, their album before this was Let It Be, kind of a riff on the Beatles Let It Be album. I think Let It Be, the replacements, is much better. And then they were going to call the follow-up to Let It Be Let It Bleed, and they decided to call it Tim instead. But when they reissue is the wrong word, when they put out this box set recently, just came out like 2 weeks ago, they called it the Let It Bleed edition. And this is a complete re-examination, remix, remastering of Tim, which had the thinnest sound, especially on vinyl. I noticed it, before it probably sounds okay on my turntable now, but like my early turntable, when I first bought that, I was like, God, this record sounds horrible. just thin production, never sounded that good. Of course, the songs carry it. You know, you have well written songs, it almost doesn't matter, right? And you have songs that are crap, or just underwritten, or just not that good, or cheesy, or whatever. You could layer them in all kinds of production and have like the best recordings, best musicianship, and who cares? So Tim was always a good record. People are always going to listen to it regardless. But this is absolutely incredible. This originally Tommy Ramone produced this record. Ed Stasium was kind of his partner and engineer. They both teamed up on several Ramones records, and I think the original idea was to get Ed Stasium involved in this as an engineer as well in the Tim recording. He was unable to commit, or he wasn't asked, or he was over the budget or something. I don't think they really asked him, but he was brought back. Now Tommy Ramone has passed away, but Ed Stasium was asked by the people at Rhino, Bob Mayer, to take a look at Tim. They rediscovered the master tapes, and to their complete surprise and delight, the master tapes were not unable to be salvaged in kind of their pure form. There wasn't effects all over the master tapes and baked in. They did a really good job of recording, so they could look at these master tapes, individual track by track, and sort of remake Tim. Now, I don't know if you've ever been on vacation when a record's come out that you really want to get, and that happened to me recently. And good thing we live in the streaming age. I did stream this new edition of Tim right away, but I was just dying to see the packaging because they do such a good job with the liner notes. But my first couple listens to Tim were on headphones, lossless audio, and I was completely blown away. Much like Dead Man's Pop, but an even better record to have a new mix of. And holy crap, the biggest surprises for me were how much it's simultaneously a singer-songwriter record, but also like a rock record. You know, like you really feel the band on this, and you hear the stereo separation. You can hear the individual instruments, but Paul Westerberg's vocals also really come out, and the songs sound so much more done in some ways, professional, classic. These songs sound classic. I've always thought that certain alternative college radio, indie, former, classic indie, whatever you want to call it, that this stuff sounds like classic rock now, especially the replacements, because their songs are so well written. What's the the Towns Van Zandt thing about standing on Bob Dylan's coffee table and saying, or Steve Earle's going to stand on Bob Dylan's coffee table and say that Towns Van Zandt's the best songwriter in the world? I feel a way about Westerberg. I'd stand on Dylan's coffee table, but Dylan would probably tell me to sit down, that he totally agrees. Paul Westerberg's a phenomenal songwriter. I would put Dylan probably number one, but boy, Westerberg's in the top five. Absolutely. Criminally underrated. Those that know, but those that don't know are unaware that they should know. Hopefully these box sets are getting more attention and bringing them into, bringing them new fans and having new people discover the magic of the replacements. I lived in Minneapolis for 18 years. I moved there when I was 21 and lived there for 8 years, moved away a little bit, and then came back for like another, 11 years, whatever adds up to 18. I sometimes say I was there for 18 years and people assume I spent my whole childhood there. That's not true at all. So yeah, I got to see, Tommy Stinson, Perfect, all those different shows he would do. Got to see Westerberg several times, and got to see Slim Dunlap several times. Got to hear all the stories, new people that were involved in the band. Heard first account stories. Met Westerberg once, and they've been one of my favorite bands of all time for quite a while. When I first moved to Minneapolis, I thought the city would be purple because of Prince and the Replacements. I knew it was going to be a magical place, and I moved there pretty much sight unseen, and yeah, the Replacements just became one of my favorite bands, and I've absolutely loved them. But it was such a revelation to listen to. So listening to it on headphones, they're sounding more like classic songs. I don't think I listened to Tim in quite a while too, but Hold My Life sounded really, really good. I'm hearing things I didn't hear before. I'll Buy sounded like a classic, like rockabilly song. It sounded like a real song and not like just an extra song on Tim that was part of the whole, but I never maybe paid too much attention to, even though I've probably heard the record 100 times. It sounds like a song that could stand totally on its own. It sounds like a song that could be covered. I could just picture like kind of a slightly country, maybe rockabilly band doing "I'll Buy," and I think it would work brilliantly. "Kiss Me on the Bus" sounds more heartfelt. It's got a cooler swing to it. The lyrics are more up front. The vocals more up front. That's that way on several of these songs. "Dose of Thunder," another song that probably the one song on the record that you could really call filler. But it sounds great. It sounds at peace with the rest of the record. Um, you hear more. You just really feel the band on that one. And then we get to "Waitress in the Sky," which I think sounds so good. Um, some people would think that is kind of a jokey song or something. I think it's a super clever song, but now that you bring Tommy Stinson's vocals out, background vocals, and I think there's some extra acoustic guitars in there, it sounds less like a joke and more like just a damn good song. And it sounds whole and complete. Um, Not like maybe a dashed off song. It sounds like it was taken very seriously, and it sounds wonderful. I really, really like the version of "Waitress in the Sky" on here. "Swingin' Party" gave me that was the only song when I'm listening to the first time through this whole record, the first time on headphones, that kind of gave me pause because it sounded so different, and it was sort of taking me out of the lyrics, which are just Westerberg at his best. Um, but now that I've listened to it about 5 times, it starts to sound kind of one with the record. I don't really notice that as much. But man, what a beautiful song! And if this brings more people into it, great, because it is a little bit more immediate. It sounds more like he's in the room with you. Just an incredible song. And of course, you have "Bastards of Young," which, I mean, the lyrics on "Bastards of Young" are just incredible. I mean, the whole record is full of just wonderful songs. I mean, the guy's like, Westward's like, what, 25, 26, when he's writing this? Lyrics: "Bastards of Young." "God, what a mess. On the ladder of success, where you take one step and miss the whole first rung. Dreams unfulfilled, graduate unskilled. It beats picking cotton and waiting to be forgotten." You know, and then later, "The ones that love us best are the ones we'll lay to rest and visit their graves on holidays at best. The ones who love us least are the ones we'll die to please." Like, amazing. And I think it's a type of record too that resonates more as you get older at different stages in your life. I mean, I first heard this when I was 18. It really was probably something I played to death when I was around mid to late 20s, and keep playing. I took a little break from the Replacements and Westerberg. I think his defeatist attitude, especially around his solo stuff where he is now, was starting to get to me at some point, especially when I moved out west. So part of it for me, part of this is getting back into them a little bit. But my God, I mean, another thing that I heard, a lot of lyrics are popping out that I just did not hear right the first time. I mean, Westerberg kind of mumbles. I think half the time he doesn't want his lyrics totally in your face or heard, maybe. But I think a lot of it was just the murk on this record, the reverb, the distance that was created where you couldn't really hear it. But one of the lines that really pops for me on "Bastards of Young" is what I always thought was, "You've got no war to claim us." Like, unwillingness to claim us. You've got no war, not got no war to name us. Like, we're your kids and there's a problem, but you've got no war that you can't name us as an enemy. I always thought it was war to name us, but it turns out it's you've got no warrant to name us, which I think is really interesting. Of course they did name us. They called us Gen X after a while. But just an incredible song. In 1985, could you have had a song called "Bastards of Young" on the top of the charts? I don't know. The only bastard song I knew at that time was Motley Crue's "Bastard," and I always thought it was kind of a bad word. But anyway, after that, what do we have after "Bastards of Young"? I mean, this album just delivers and delivers and delivers. We have "Lay It Down, Clown," which Sounds great on here. It feels like a showcase for Bob Stinson. It just I've never had a problem with that song. Some people think it's more of a throwaway too. It's only when you the company that these songs keep that makes them seem kind of that way, because the other songs are just so good. And probably one of the best songs on here is "Left to the Dial," which was our sneak peek for this record. And that song too, the lyrics popped for me in a way that they hadn't before. um, from that very first listen. Just there's something about there's a tenderness there, and little things like, okay, he's into this woman who's in a band. She lives in another part of the country. He can only hear her left of the dial. Left of the dial is where all the college radio stations were, 89.9, 90 point something, 91. They usually weren't in the like cool 108 territory. They were on the left end of the dial. So he's got this separation from her. He can't see her. He's crushing on her, but he hopes to hear her left of the dial. And there's one line in there that really got to me where I kept hearing "Don't mention your name," "Didn't mention your name," "Didn't mention your name," and really you can hear it pretty clear as day on this new mix. Gonna mention your name. I'm gonna mention your name. When I get to those radio stations and I have interviews, I'm gonna mention your band. Which just takes it to another height of like, just what a sweet song to write for somebody that you're into. And it rocks too. It's got one of the greatest guitar little hooks to it. Absolutely love "Left of the Dial," and it has never sounded better than it does here. I also found it really interesting reading the liner notes. I never realized that "Left of the Dial" was actually recorded with Alex Chilton. The version that was on the original Tim, the version that's on this "Let It Bleed" edition, was a carryover from those Alex Chilton sessions. You can hear the rest of the Alex Chilton sessions, or most of them. I think they left a couple songs off on the disc 3 of this CD3 that has all the outtakes on it. But yeah, "Left to the Dial," unbelievable. "Little Mascara," just great character study. I've always loved that song. The line that I heard differently on that one that I don't think I had heard before was it talks about you nap them and you slap them in a high chair. I don't think I'd ever quite heard that right, and I think it's just such a cool line. Kind of says it all. And then then you get into "Here Comes a Regular." "Here Comes a Regular" and "Swingin' Party" both are just heavy emotional songs. And they, "Swingin' Party" has a great verse in it where he says, "On the prairie pavement, losing proposition, quitting school and going to work and never going fishing, water all around, I'll never learn to swim now." And it's just, I think it speaks to just that loss of youth, loss of innocence. You're getting into a job, you're getting into a rut, you don't have all this free time anymore. You're probably working some job you probably hate, and there's just kind of a real sadness there. It feels very like an autumn song. And "Here Comes a Regular" definitely feels that way. I mean, it's always been one of my favorite replacement songs, my favorite song on Tim. It's Westerberg at his very best. Like "Bastards of Young," the lyrics to this one are just unbelievable. Just so heartfelt. I guess when he did the song, he had to be kind of coaxed into it. Like, "Hey, do you have one more song, don't you, Westerberg?" And apparently he hid behind a bunch of baffles and had the lights turned off and just played the song, and like everybody was pretty much in tears by the time it was over. um yeah, I mean, if you haven't heard that song, you're in for a treat. And another, like I was saying earlier, these songs resonate in different ways as you get older, but I see it very much as like a kind of like "Swingin' Party," but it's like maybe that person's grown older now. They've grown old in a bar, as he talks about, and they're regular at a bar, but not much is going well. When a person can work up a mean thirst after a hard day of nothing much at all. Summer's past, it's too late to cut the grass. There ain't much to rake anyway in the fall. And sometimes I'm just not in the mood to take my place in the back with the loudmouths. Damn, damn. And I this is probably the one song though on this record, even though I really really appreciate hearing the strings and hearing his vocals much more clearly and making things out. I do kind of prefer the original because some of the piano part would come in at just the right time and carry like so much emotional weight. And it was so perfect. You just kind of, it was almost sacred. I kind of didn't want to mess with it. So it'll be interesting to me if I warm up more to the new one. But I think I'll probably always prefer the original for that. But great lines like I used to live at the house. I used to live at home. Now I stay at the house. That again kind of means something more to me now maybe than I did when I was 19 and heard this. You know, and then lines that jump out. Like I always thought it was everybody wants to be someone here, and then someone's gonna show up. Never fear. But it's so much more powerful realizing I can hear it plain as day. You know, everybody wants to be someone's here. You know, it's so much. It's sadder. You know, but it's also real, right? You're not gonna sit at a bar endlessly drinking every day, day after day, a bunch of regulars. If you have someone at home that, unless that someone's sitting right next to you on the next bar stool, maybe. But the other line that really came out too is I used to always hear, "Am I the only one that feels the shame?" Which is a powerful line, the shame of being there, right? But it hits even harder realizing for me that the song actually says, "Am I the only one that feels ashamed?" Like, damn, that's hard. And then the closing weather lines. I mean, just so perfect, coming out more clearly too, but just so perfect for a winter day, winter coming in Minneapolis. I can just picture being on a bar stool and looking out the window and seeing this, you know, so clearly. You know, first the lights, then the collar goes up, and the wind begins to blow. Turn your back, and I pay you back. Last call. First the glass, then the leaves that pass, then comes the snow, and then coming back to that line that he kind of began one of the verses with at the beginning. Ain't much to rake anyway in the fall. Yeah, wow, he's just a master, and this is such a good recording. This is so well done that in some ways it makes the original irrelevant. I'm certainly not going to throw away my Tim anytime soon, but you know, for newer fans, if they were just to pick up this, probably all you need. It's got a remastered version of Tim, the original mix. I've not listened to that more than just like a song or two. I've not like really A-B'd this thing. Um, I just want to get to I just want to hear it. You know, I played it twice on headphones, maybe three times actually, and twice on between two speakers with the like the kid in the Bastards of Young video, the new vinyl version, the Ed Stasium mix, and it's starting to sound more normal. It just starting to sound like Tim, you know. And I mean, it's not a drastically different record or anything. It's just I think such an improvement in almost all cases of the songs on here. The leftover or the extras are super cool. We've heard a lot of them, but you hear like way more of the Alex Chilton sessions. There's a version of Can't Hardly Wait with the cello that's really cool. Definitely hints at the strings that were to come and the horns um, for the version that's on Pleased to Meet Me. And Nowhere's My Home, you hear a couple different versions of that. And there's a great version of Swingin' Party on there. Just phenomenal. And then you get a live record from a early January 1986 show at the Cabaret Metro in Chicago, which is super cool. We also had a live album from this tour come out, Maxwell's live at Maxwell's in New Jersey, that came out, I don't know, probably 2 years ago. That one is excellent. That one sounds phenomenal. And to use like Westerberg's language, it rocks like murder. It just sounds so good. I don't think this version on Tim on the Let It Bleed edition is that essential, but it's super cool to hear. Somebody said, I think in the liner notes, that Westerberg knew he's being recorded. The band did for the New Jersey show. They didn't know on this one, so they played a little bit differently, knowing that not knowing that they were being recorded. Which so it's cool to hear these things. It's cool to hear the slightly different versions of songs. It seems a little one dimensional for me. There's no "Here Comes a Regular," no "Swingin' Party," none of the really more acousticy or mellow songs that the replacements are so good at. But you do hear, like, I don't listen to Stink very often at all, and it's just a record. The one record, it's an EP, I guess, by the replacements that I'm just not that into. But I found myself loving "Go," the song "Go." Kind of forgot about it, and it sounded really good on the live record. But do yourself a favor, check this out. If you're not already a Replacements fan, or if you just kind of know them casually, this is a good chance to dive in. Dive in with this one. Stream it, buy it, support them. I mean, it's a phenomenal release, and it sounds great in a room. It also sounds really damn good on headphones. There's something really special about this record. I think it's one where Westerberg was really trying. Later on, I don't know, they're so good at self-sabotage. It's got ridiculous, and Trouble Boys is kind of quite disturbing that way, how much they just shot themselves in the foot, and would tell producers that they don't deserve their best, and you're not gonna give you my best, which I think is such a load of shit. But they got good recordings mostly anyway. But I think on Tim you have Westerberg really trying, the band really trying, and I think it shows, and it's just a phenomenal record, and I love the shit out of Rhino for doing this. Thank you, Jason Jones. Thank you, Bob Mayer. Thank you to everybody who's involved with this. You're doing a hell of a job. This is the fourth one you guys have done. I can't wait to hear what you've done next. Personally, I think it's going to be All Shook Down, but that's just a guess. Maybe it's one that I really want to hear. I love that record. I'll always stick up for it. But Tim is the one to check out right now. Let It Bleed edition. Give it a shot.